thanks for joining me today. I want to show you a really easy way to do a cheetah print pattern using the mini mat and some of my fun round cutters. Now what I'm going to be using today is the cutter set, the round plunger cutters. There's 3 different sizes. Now I'm going to be covering a small dummy. It's a 5-inch round dummy. So it's kind of like when you think about tiling a bathroom. If it's a small bathroom, you use smaller tiles. If it's a larger room, it's larger tiles. So think in the same way when you're putting a pattern on a cake, how big that cake is. If you were doing a zebra print on this one, for instance, and had really fat stripes, it just doesn't look as good as if you use smaller stripes on the smaller cake. So just keep that in mind. For this one, again, using the 5-inch round, I'm just going to use the 2 smaller round cutters in this set. So what I'm going to do, I have a baby yellow rolled out in the background, and I went ahead and got started on some of this just so we're not spending a lot of time doing that. I'll just show you what I've done here. This is kind of, it's an orange, but I muted it a little bit because the orange I had right out of the container was a little bit bright. So I rolled a little bit of the brown color in that just to tone it down and make it kind of a rust orange. So I've got my brown rolled out and my orange rolled out. And for my bigger circle, I'm going to use the brown. And what I'm going to do is cut 5 of these at one time. And the reason I like to do that, I use this mini mat. It comes with 2 pieces, so there's a bottom and a top piece. I can keep this covered if I'm not working with it at a certain amount of time. Over here I'm using my home size mat for the cheetah print, and this also, while I'm working over here, stays covered so that it doesn't get dried out. Okay, so I've got 5 circles cut out of my brown, and I'm going to use the smaller round for my orange. And then you can just pick these up and put it right in the middle of it. Now I'm going to show you a really fun technique. This kind of looks like an eyeball, but you don't want to have it perfectly centered. You want to have it kind of, mismatched a little bit, smash it down a little bit, and it's okay if it stretches out of shape. Now what I'm going to do is pull these over here, and I'm going to use a Dresden tool that has a small pointed end, and I'm just going to I don't want to push all the way through it, but I'm making just a random kind of a flower type pattern. And then I'll do the same for my other 5. And there's my last one. Again, not any specific pattern. You want this as random as it'll go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just pick these up. And again, I'm not too worried if it stretches out of shape because that kind of adds to its randomness. And then I'm going to close this back down to make sure that my fondant doesn't dry out. And now I can peel back the top of my home mat. And I'm just going to place this in random spots. Not too far apart, not too close together. And let me show you how this is going to work. I'm going to put the top back down. And then as I roll it, it's going to kind of stretch into these fun shapes and create that cheetah pattern. And you can see how each one kind of has a different characteristics. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish this pattern out, and I'll show you how to get it onto the dummy. Typically when we use the mat, what is on the underside of the mat is what's going to be seen. But here I'm going to be flipping it over so that the pattern side stays on the top. So I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, so I'm just finishing up rolling out these dots. And here's what I'm going to do to flip it over. So as I said before, if you're not familiar with the mat, the side that is facing the table is what's going to be seen because you're flipping it over. So because I want this to be seen, I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. I'm going to remove this piece. Set it aside. And now I have this dummy watered a little bit so it will adhere. You can also use a shortening if you'd like to. But what I'm going to do is basically just lay this over the top, make sure it's centered, peel this back a little bit, pull it taut so it rolls off nicely, and then just let that fall into place. Then what I'm going to do is go around 1 inch down all the way around until I get back to where I started from. 2 inches down all the way around, just kind of gently cupping your fingers. 3 inches down all the way around. And just continue till I get to the bottom. So now that I have it close down to the bottom, what I'm going to do is use the flat edge of my fondant smoother, and I'm just going to keep this pulled out at a little bit of an angle and kind of walk it back and forth so I don't create a crease. This is a trick I like to use. If you do create a crease, you can just pull it back out from the cake And again, just kind of walk it down, and it's going to stretch it into shape and keep that crease from happening. So you'll just work all the way around the cake. And then once you have it all the way down to the bottom, you can take your round blade and just cut at an angle right around the base. I like a 45-degree angle, just kind of helps keep it from rising up too high. And then I'm just going to pull off the excess like a collar. And then anything that pulls away from it, I can just lift the cake up and then tuck it underneath to give it a nice, finished, polished looking edge. And that is the easy cheetah print. So I've got all my animal prints together here. I'm just going to stack them. Again, these are just on dummies, so they're going to be really easy to move. And I'm not too worried about structure just because there is styrofoam in there. So I just want to get centered really nicely. Then I'm going to go over here and grab my cheetah print, and that's going to go on top as well. So I thought about my collars a lot. I really like the yellow versus the ivory. I don't want those matching too much. You can always put brighter colors in there as well. I could do a bright yellow and a bright pink for the zebra. That would work as well. So those are all my animal prints together. I hope you'll go take a look at the other videos, seeing the different techniques. They all use the home mat. It's a really easy technique to use, and I think you're going to have fun with it. Thanks for watching.